Hey, what's up guys, Justin here, and I'm going to give you my tips on how to actually get over a breakup, right? Or even get rid of some past baggage from a previous relationship. A lot of us don't spend time to actually do this kind of work. We kind of just move on with life and we allow time to do its thing. But I tell you what, if you don't deal with this, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be carrying this past baggage into new relationships. And at first it might not seem like that, but you'll notice you have the same problems months down the road. You might have the exact same issues where you're like, your jealousies or insecurities just keep coming up, sort of thing. You'll also notice that you project, things onto that person, right? You create a lot of rules for how relationships have to be. And when you start doing that, you don't give the new relationship a fair chance because you're really just trying to solve the problems of the previous relationship still. So what this will really allow you to do, if you follow these strategies I'm going to talk about in this video, will allow you to actually get over a breakup properly and heal from this properly. And I'm talking to a point where, you feel the way you would about a sock, right? Say the sock on your foot right now, you're just like, yeah, that's my sock. That's how you would feel about your previous relationships. You're not going to be charged about it. It's not going to be emotionally damaging to think about it. Like, fuck that person. It's none of that, right? But what this will allow you to do is properly heal. So I'm going to teach you some strategies on how to do this, right? And kind of a little hack, a little back door into the mind. So we're going to be talking about three major strategies. The first is going to be called the balloon. The next is called the DVD. The third one's called the elastic band, okay? So the balloon, the DVD, and the elastic band. Let's get started. So you probably heard of the idea that time heals all things, right? Or the saying, right? Time heals all things. Well, what's happening in time that makes it heal things? What is it that time's doing to heal us? If we can understand what time does naturally, what are the ingredients that make time something that heals us, we can backwards engineer what time's doing naturally, and we can force the experience to happen so that we can get over things a lot faster, right? So it doesn't take time in itself, right? Because I'll tell you what, people can spend years and years trying to get over a relationship. They might think they're over it and they're in a new relationship, but they still haven't really healed from it. So I'm going to teach you exactly how to do this, right? So what's happening in time is that, let's kind of use the metaphor of the balloon. So imagine that as you had a relationship, you collected a bunch of really positive memories and experiences. And those memories and experiences create this big emotional balloon. Maybe it's a big red balloon that you see. And as you see this big red balloon, it's filled with all these different, songs you guys used to enjoy, these restaurants you guys used to hang out at and eat at, the activities you guys used to do, maybe some like very intimate experiences you guys had. Whatever it is, you have this big emotional balloon, right? And on top of that as well, you probably have some pain involved in that balloon too, right? Some bad experiences, hence why the relationship ended, right? Now, regardless of whether you ended the relationship or they ended the relationship, this process still applies. What you want to do is you want to recognize that what's happening in time is that we have this big balloon that we built up with someone. And as we no longer are building up that balloon, it slowly starts to deflate, slowly and slowly. And the reason it's happening slowly is because when we experience the trigger, we experience an association. So say you drive past your favorite restaurant together, right? What do we tend to do? As we go and see that restaurant, we're like, oh, no, don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. That's like us, just like slowly letting out the air of the balloon, barely allowing anything out, right? What we really want to do is we want to fully experience the emotion. We want to fully allow it to exhale out, right? To really deflate the balloon faster. Now, the faster we can deflate this balloon, the more intense we can allow it to really deflate, the faster we're going to get over the person, right? That's what's happening throughout time that allows us to heal. So if we can backwards engineer this process by forcefully allowing ourselves to, experience the emotion fully, then we can heal a lot faster. This is us really deflating the balloon. So again, it's just like this deflated balloon, or it's like the sock example, right? Where it's just like, oh yeah, it's my ex, and there's no emotional charge to it. How would that feel? Pretty good. So I'm going to teach you how to do that, but that's kind of theory one, the balloon. So I want you to remember that. So what we want to look for in our life now is, where are the balloons? Where are the things that we need to let the air out of, right? And you'll notice that there's probably some topics you've been avoiding. There's some areas there when you think about them, you're like, oh, I can't even think that way. Well, I want to point something out to you. Everyone tends to heal a little bit differently, and it's based on two major strategies. One version of us, and one major strategy, is to really suppress something, right? To just, no, we're not going there, stuff it down kind of thing. The other strategy is to really just overshare, to really just dive back into the dating market, if you will. You've probably heard of the term to get over, get under kind of thing, right? Or you'll find a rebound or something like this, right? Well, both of these strategies are technically defense mechanisms. They're ways that we learn to protect ourselves. Now, you have to remember that you're going to have a proclivity for one or the other. So maybe you're the type of person that really overshares, right? When you go through the relationship, you tell everyone about it, right? That might not necessarily be you releasing the air out of the balloon, but rather keeping the air built up in it and as it's no longer being fueled by the relationship, you keep talking about it, you never let it go, you tell everyone about it, right? And you're really just keeping the hot air in the balloon. Now, if that's you, what you're going to benefit from is from kind of just allowing yourself to sit with the emotions and not talk about it, not share it with people. Really, it's not suppressing it, but what it is allowing yourself to fully experience it as it is, and not having the need to share or talk about it. Just allowing yourself to experience and feel it. Now, when you do this, that'll be you allowing yourself to deflate the balloon fully, right? That's what that looks like for you. Now, say you're on the other side of this. Say you're on the side where you don't acknowledge this at all. You naturally suppress it. When something painful happens, like a breakup, you just naturally suppress it. You're like, nope, we don't talk about it. And that's you. If that's you, the strategy you're going to want to use is to start again to really talk about it, to articulate, to think about it, to really live and live with that emotion, right? And that'll be your version of deflating the balloon. Both strategies are really deflating the balloon, but you'll notice that you have a proclivity to either sensitize the subject by just like, no, don't think about it. You make it oversensitive sort of thing for yourself and you suppress it, or to desensitize the subject where you go and you talk about it with everyone and it means nothing to you. Just like, oh yeah, and just blurt out everything, talk to everyone about, oh, I just went through a breakup. Oh yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, I was this, I just missed this person. I missed when we used to do this. And you over talk about it, this sort of thing, right? Well, if your strategy again is desensitization, then you want to actually remove that strategy and do the harder thing, which is to actually allow it to be sensitized, allow yourself to actually allow it to deflate out of your life, to be quiet about it, to live with that kind of feeling, and vice versa, right? If you have a tendency to oversensitize, to really not talk about it, stuff it down sort of thing, will allow it to come back up to the surface and allow yourself to fully experience it. So that's strategy 1, and that's known as the balloon. Let's go to strategy 2, the DVD. So, when you have a mental movie going on, when you think about these things, when you're thinking about, the experiences you went on with someone, right, or the good memories you have with someone, you're putting on a mental movie. And that mental movie is really you going and putting this DVD in the player, and I mean, DVDs are old now, but you get what I'm saying. You put the DVD in the player, and essentially what you're doing is you're allowing the disc to spin, and it's spinning really fast, and what ends up happening is you get this mental movie of different scenes you guys had together. Maybe there's a couple intimate moments. Maybe there's a great date. Maybe there's this moment where it was really, a time you guys connected. Maybe it's just the fun you guys had, the jokes you had, the memes you shared, whatever it was, right? And what you're doing when you think of those memories is you're playing a separate DVD. And this DVD really contains all the different memories. It's the way that your brain plays mental movies. Now, these mental movies produce the emotions that we feel. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, the way in which our brain actually sorts through information is it has to see a visual cue. And that visual cue is the DVD. Now, one of the things you'll notice about this is that when you watch this DVD, when you play these mental movies, there's 3 major things that change. The way you describe it, so the language that you're using, your physiology, the way you hold yourself, like you're watching these movies mentally, you're probably like, and you feel depressed, and your chest is low, your breathing is shallow, and your head's down, you're like, yeah, okay, maybe cry, this sort of thing. Now, the third thing is what you're actually focused on, right? Which is the mental movie itself. So you're actually thinking about these past memories. You're thinking about these, what could have been. You're thinking about like, oh yeah, like I plan on like marrying this person. I thought I was gonna be with this person forever. Or, all these good times we had, right? So really look at that. The mental movie causes 3 things to change. It changes your physiology, changes the language that you use, the ways you describe it to people, this sort of thing, the way you describe it to yourself, as well as the mental focus you have. So your focus, your language, and your physiology. This is what creates the emotional state that's caused by the DVD. So if we want to change those things, if we want to actually feel better about something, if we actually want to follow the first strategy, the balloon, and really just exhaust these things, we got to destroy these DVDs. Well, how do we do that? Well, if we know that the DVD is designed to change those 3 things, and that's what actually allows the DVD to exist, if we forcefully change those 3 things, which we can, what we can allow ourselves to do is to essentially run a blade over top of the DVD, which is like we're scratching the hell out of the DVD. And every time we do that, we make it difficult to replay that DVD. This is what will allow us to no longer even access those emotions with that person. We essentially overwrite it. Now, let me tell you how to do this. What I want you to do is to follow that first strategy of the red balloon, right? The big balloon. And we want to purposely experience negative emotions. We want to purposely watch what our focus goes to, how our physiology holds ourselves, what we're actually saying to ourselves, right? It's like, oh, I'll never get someone as good as that person again. Oh, that was the best relationship I ever had. Oh, I'm going to be alone forever. We think of all these words, right? I want you to actually, instead of suppressing it, or not allowing the air to come out, we want to force the air to come out. So we want to use our imagination to make this 100 times worse, make it really, really bad, get it as low as you can. We're essentially trying to get you to rock bottom, to fully exhaust this balloon. Allow your imagination to help you with this, and it's going to get dark. That's the point. You want this to get really, really dark with yourself. You want to actually get to the point where you're like crying, and you're ugly crying, or your snot coming out of your mouth or your nose and stuff, this sort of thing. And the reason we want to do this is we want to really allow ourselves to get really, really low, right? Let's say like we're talking like a 1 out of 10 type of emotion, right? Or 2 out of 10 of emotion. Get as bad as you possibly can feel, right? So when you're at that point, you want to lower your emotional mood as low as it can possibly go, right? That's like you playing the DVD over and over and watching it hour after hour after hour. Get yourself really, really low. So be like, oh, man, I'm gonna miss that person. Oh, they're the best person I ever had. That was the love of my life. That was the love of my life. Whatever your language is, keep repeating the language. Keep doing the physiology. Get yourself in a really low emotional place. Okay, run the hell out of that DVD. Right when you think you're at your absolute, I'm not talking when you're like, I can't do this anymore. Not that, but when you think you've exhausted it, you're exhausting your imagination's ability to make it as bad as it possibly can get. When you feel at that point that you're like, I'm as low as I can possibly, I'm fucking miserable, what you want to do is change all three of those things. So you first want to start by just yelling out a random word, something that's unrelated. So when I was doing this process years ago, my random word was chickenpox. I don't know why, just randomly, right? And another time it was sneakers, right? It was just random words, right? So what you want to do is you're in this really low state. You're like, oh God, and you're like beating yourself up. You're like, fuck, this sucks. Da, da, da. And you're just like, chickenpox. And it feels fucking stupid to do it. And that's kind of the point. We want to shake up the pattern. We want to break up that pattern, that DVD. By doing that, we're scratching the DVD. So we want to break it up by just yelling out a random word, sneakers, right? And as soon as you do that, it feels so dumb to do it that it actually puts you in a weird emotional state. It's like scratching the DVD, so it's like, and it skips. Now, when that happens, immediately you're put in a kind of a more suggestible mode. So you break the pattern, then from there, change your physiology, get in a confident pose, right? So your chest is up, head's up sort of thing. You find yourself in a confident pose, and you're just like, ugh, breathing fully now. And then ask yourself, what do I want in my future relationships? Right? And at first, your answer is going to want to be like, I want her, right? Or I want him. I want what we had, like whatever that is. But instead, I want you to that point ask, like, what would your ideal relationship look like, right? And get in the habit of asking, what do I want? What is the ideal relationship I want, right? And you might want to go negative again to start, right? At first, maybe it's just like, well, I want somebody who doesn't cheat on me or something like this, right? But ultimately, just look towards the positive in this sense. Just try and ask yourself, what do I want right now? And ask yourself, what would my ideal relationship look like? So if you notice what we're doing in that moment, you have to do this process very, very quickly. So you get yourself really, really low, then break your language pattern, right? So you say a random word, you then change your physiology, and then you change your mental focus by asking, now what do I want? Now, as you do this, you'll be like, okay, well, I want a relationship I can really invest in. I want a relationship with a lot more passion. I want a relationship with a lot of trust in it. Someone I feel totally bonded and connected to. Someone that I feel like is my partner in life. Someone I can tackle lots of things. Or maybe it's just like, I want to experience a lot of passion. I want to have a lot of fun. I want to, have a lot of sex and have a lot of good times out there, right? Make some memories. Whatever your particular goal is, just make that the new focus. Now, why are we doing this? Well, the reason we want to do this is, like I said, because we're essentially running a blade over the DVD. As we do this repeatedly over and over and over, what we're really allowing ourselves to do is make that disc very difficult to play. And as we repeatedly do this process, the brain learns a new way to actually improve. It learns a new way to handle pain. So that's what we really want for ourselves. We really want to have a new strategy for how we deal with this pain. And once you learn how to do this a couple times, it'll be very difficult to replay this DVD. You'll notice every time you do this, it gets harder and harder to feel as intense emotionally. So you, even with your imagination, be like, she was the love of my life, he was the love of my life, that was my soulmate, whatever you want to say, you'll find it's very, very difficult to re-feel those emotions as intensely as you first initially did. This is because we have been scratching over the DVD. This is how the mind works. So that is strategy number 2. Let's dive into strategy number 3, the elastic band. So strategy number 3 is the elastic band. Now, essentially what this is that when people want to condition a new behavior in themselves, right, they might wear an elastic band, right? So say they want to stop swearing. Every time they swear, they snap the elastic band. Every time they crave a cigarette, they snap the elastic band. And what they're essentially doing is they're negatively associating the thing that they want to that pain on the wrist with the elastic band snapping back. Now, this is essentially self-punishing, right? We're punishing ourselves, right? We're just snapping the band. And eventually we condition ourselves to not want those things. Right? Well, there's a more effective way than wearing the elastic band, and it's by doing this process we talked about. You got to become a disciplinarian in your life. You have to actually see this as like your brain naturally wants to go towards like this hurting, painful sort of way of thinking, right? And every time an association comes up, anytime a memory comes up, or any sort of thing like that, we want to again follow all the prior strategies, right? So again, we're trying to deflate the red balloon. But if you notice yourself kind of like, no, I don't want to do that, you have to get in the habit of really self-punishing yourself. See this as the elastic band. So every time you get a thought of the person, take some time. Don't just you might be in a busy environment. This is very important though. Pull the car over if needed, go to the bathroom, do this in the bathroom, whatever you need to do, isolate yourself so you can do this process correctly. If you get a thought of the person, you get like a little tinge of like, oh yeah, this thing, and you feel sad, snap the hell out of that band. And the way we snap the band is by doing this process, because it's a brutal process. Forcefully allow ourselves to feel the pain. It's like, oh, you want to have these thoughts? Oh, you want to think about this person again? Okay, well, this is what we're going to do. Snap the band, and you self-punish yourself. We're going to do the process, the thing that Justin talked about. We're going to actually deflate the balloon. We're going to feel negative, and we're going to change our state and readjust our focus. If you do this 3 to 4 times, and you'll probably catch yourself the very first day, you'll probably have to do it 3 or 4 times, sort of thing, and then maybe the next day once or twice. If you do this process, you will stop having thoughts of the person. You will genuinely stop thinking of that person. Thoughts won't come up anymore because you've so powerfully negatively associated it, plus combined it with very powerful techniques mentally, as well as, understood what time was doing for you. Fast forward to the process. You do all 3 of these things, you become a disciplinarian with the elastic band, you write over the DVDs, you scratch the hell out of the previous DVDs, and you deflate the balloon. You do all 3 of these things, you will get over your relationship very, very quickly. I'm talking radically fast, a couple days. I'm talking relationships you were in for years, you can get over in a couple days. It doesn't seem realistic because this is something that you've never heard before. This is something that no one's talked about. But this is something that I figured out, and it's something that I'm glad I get the opportunity to share with you. So I hope this has been very insightful for you. I hope you found this, very enlightening, and you're like, wow, okay. And you actually go and try it. It's one thing for me to talk about this sort of thing, but if you don't actually do it, you don't actually put in the work and actually practice these 3 things, balloon, the DVD, the elastic band, you're going to be like the many of people who still have past baggage, who still can't get over relationships, who never properly heal, and they come across the same issues in their new relationships. They never really learn. The best way to learn is to first get over someone, to heal the pain within us. And this is how you do it. This is actually how you fast forward the process, so you can do it in a couple days. Now, this is how you actually get started doing this. And after that, you can then observe things from a more accurate light. Because when you do this process, you essentially make all your past memories non-emotional. You remove the emotional potency to them. So now, you can now review them from a more level-headed place, a place of, what can I learn from this? And what you'll notice is that when you come from this place where it's no longer emotionally charged, and you come from a place of now, okay, I'm trying to learn something here. What can I take away from this relationship? When you can come from a place that isn't pain, where you're like, well, I can learn not to fucking date that person, right? If it's something like that, if you're able to remove that emotion, you can now view this objectively and then go, okay, like I learned how to do this, or that person taught me this and this and this. And you really have a good takeaway from the relationship, and you can ultimately get into a better one that's more suited for you after.